Hey guys and girls, adventurers. Welcome to stream number 4 of Adventures in Broadcasting. I'm really excited that you could join me. I think I'm getting the hang of this Twitch streaming thing. I'm not sure. But I think it's been fun. Hopefully, if you've seen past streams, you're learning a couple things. Tonight I wanted to work a little bit on my tooling. As a developer, it's important that you keep improving your tools. It's like any kind of career. You're only as good as your tools. If you're a carpenter and you have dull hammers, or does that even exist, a dull hammer? Then you're not going to be a very good carpenter. Same with development, same with programming. If you do not find the right tools that works really well for you, then you're not going to be able to build amazing things. So what I wanted to cover was a code editor that I started using, Visual Studio Code, surprisingly from Microsoft. This is an open source development tool, surprisingly, again, by Microsoft. Like 10 years ago, if you were to say, hey, Microsoft's making open source, your mind would have exploded. But they have been really doing a great job of really adopting the open source movement, and not only just saying, like a lot of companies out there, they're like, oh yeah, we're open source, and their efforts fall pretty flat. Microsoft has jumped in heavily, with open source support in their Azure cloud, Linux subsystem support in Windows 10, which is awesome, and then a variety of open source projects. And when Visual Studio Code hit the ground, I was shocked by it. So my past editor of choice has changed quite a few times. Most recently, I was using PHP Storm, only because the majority of the work that I was doing at the time was PHP oriented, but it had great support for JavaScript and generic languages that you can kind of plug in. The subscription model of PHP Storm is a little weird now. It's a commercial product and you have to pay yearly. They're kind of doing like the whole Adobe Creative Cloud subscription model, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I switched over to Visual Studio Code, and I've been using it primarily for the last few months now, but it's definitely not a tool that I've sharpened. So tonight I'm going to try and sharpen it a little bit. So what do you normally find in an editor that you kind of want to use? Obviously you want something that can get your project up and running pretty quickly in the editor. And I'm pretty surprised at how quickly it was for Studio Code. Usually a lot of editors, if you start a new project, they ask you a bunch of questions and you're like, look, I just need to open something up. So I like how Visual Studio just has open folder, and then you can kind of navigate to your project. And I'm going to open up my Nintendo emulator that's written in JavaScript and Vue. And it immediately opened it up and made it usable. Things that I found useful in an editor, obviously, is you've got a very large main editor window space, and then a way to navigate the files on the left. And if you can see that the interface in Studio Code is very light, very minimalistic. You've got some high-level actions here. Your Explorer, which you can immediately show or not show here. Search is very easy. Source control if you're using Git or another SCM. Debugging, which I haven't done yet with Studio Code. I'm hoping to jump into debugging with Studio Code later today. And then a very quick extensions browser, so you can install additional extensions, which is pretty nice. I thought it was really a pretty good editor, but again, I've only used it to its minimal potential. Well, I have installed a couple extensions. I have installed these extensions. You can see that I've obviously installed a few PHP extensions. I installed React Native tools last night on the stream because we were playing around with React Native. I changed the kind of the color scheme with this theme, and I have some Vue.js tooling, and then my big favorite is the Vim. extension for Studio Code. I'm a keyboard junkie, and Vim lets me do my editing pretty quickly. But I haven't looked at everything else that this extension provides, including splitting windows and things like that, which would be pretty interesting to kind of dive into. What else? There was a welcome page, and I wonder how to get back there because it had some pretty interesting stuff. I'm just gonna go ahead and close it and reopen it. I think it shows it every time you open. Yeah, so here's the welcome page. I wonder if it's possible to just re-show this somehow. And then we have customized tools and languages, and then they have some pretty quick things to install here. I'm going to click on more, and this shows extensions and then category languages. So yeah, I mean, if you're programming in a variety of languages, there's a lot of support here. Obviously for PHP, C, C++, C Sharp, Go, which is something I want to continue playing with. That's pretty cool. And a REST client for Visual Studio Code. That might be very interesting when testing like APIs and such. And then Ruby's way down here. Let's take a look at what you would want to do for JavaScript. So that's interesting. If you click on one of these languages, it just says, hey, this window will reload after installing additional support for JavaScript. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at installed, just kind of visually see what the heck I have already. And then let's see. What else did it just install? It says ESLint, so eCMCA script, linting, not much here. File utils. Yeah, I don't really see how it added much of anything. But JavaScript is no longer, well, it is selectable, but let's put in PHP and see what it does there. Nothing much else. I think maybe, no, it didn't install anything else there. It also has support for maybe a lot of things for like cloud. I wonder if there's any AWS kind of, yep. So if you're doing stuff in AWS, Lambda, there's some boilerplate here, CloudFormation, that's kind of cool. Okay. This is kind of neat. Let's go through some other things here. Find and run all commands. You know what's great about this, and I know that Sublime Text has this as well, was the ability to bring up pretty much all the actions in the editor by keyboard. So here it's Control-Shift-P, and then you can just search for things. So if I wanted to modify my settings, I could just type in settings, and it says preferences, open user settings, and then I can just click on that. What's cool about user settings is that it's basically a JSON that extends or overrides the core settings that are in here. So I think that's pretty awesome. And so it opens up an editor for editing user settings. And if I just wanted to look at anything that's related to font, here it is, and I can change anything in here in regards to font. So I think that's kind of cool. And then changes take effect almost immediately. So if I want to come over here and modify font size to be 14, I can write it and then it just reloads it. So I think that's pretty nice. So that's cool. You can see that my theme that I'm using is that slime theme that I installed, which is really nice on the eyes. It doesn't make it too bright, especially when I'm coding at night, things like that. Other things that I extended already was the integrated shell. So I use the Git Bash shell on Windows, which is actually pretty fantastic. The way to get to it, and I can't recall, so I'm going to hit Control-Shift-P, type in terminal. We can see that Control-Shift, what is that, single quote, kind of brings it up. So if I do Control-Shift single quote. You can see my terminal here, which is awesome. That means I could really build everything here, which is nice. Let's see. What was it? I can't even remember. How come I don't remember how to modify? And this is really great. The terminal is really, really useful. Oh, it's npm run cert for running my emulator. So that's really nice. I think what I'm going to do is, because I have my emulator open, is I'm going to work on making it so that it's easier for me to use and do Vue and JavaScript in Visual Studio. I think that's probably going to be very handy. Control-Shift-E brings up your Explorer, so everything has a hotkey assigned, which is really nice. If you hover over certain items, you're going to see it. So Control-Shift-F for searching, Control-Shift-F for find, but it brings up search, Control-Shift-E for Explorer, Control-Shift-G for source control, assuming that it's Git. I wonder if it has control extension for like Subversion. And then Control-Shift-X for extensions. I'm sure Control-Shift-D for debug. Yeah, that makes sense. I wonder if it has access. It does have access to Subversion. But who uses Subversion anymore? That's old. Okay, so this is running, so that's cool. Let's see about one, just loading it and making sure that it works. Yep, everything's running. That's kind of cool. So let's go back into Studio and let's take a look at the extensions I have installed for Vue. Vue VS Code snippets. It doesn't clearly sort by install count, which is a little frustrating for extensions. Oh, there we go. There's an option. So if you're in extensions and you search for something, you can click on the ellipsis here. I wonder what that is. Clear extensions. Oh, okay. And then let's sort by install count. So VTour is definitely the most popular Vue tooling. It provides syntax highlighting, snippet, emit, in case you don't know. It's pretty interesting. It does allow like rapidly building out code with just some keystrokes, but I haven't really tried it. I haven't used it. But ultra fast coding, you can write a bunch of code very, very quickly by just kind of creating small snippets of code, and then it expands it into what you wanted. I have not tried Emmet. Maybe that will be something for a future stream. That would be cool. Hey, for those who just joined, thank you so much for joining. We're checking out Visual Studio Code. If you have any tips or tricks or any questions about the editor, bring them up, share them. It'd be interesting to kind of know how other people are using this editor effectively. Right now, I'm taking a look at its support for Vue.js through some of the extensions and how it does. So just kind of looking at that. Looks like this extension is a open source repo. So just kind of taking a look here. There is syntax highlighting. So that's cool. So what's great about this is it does support syntax highlighting in single page Vue components, and single page Vue components. It's awesome. I think it's so much nicer than, say, React.js in defining a component. So I have a .vue file and a template, and then my script, which is my actual JavaScript, and then down below I'll have my CSS. And this is a single page Vue template that gets transpiled down into normal JavaScript and through Babel and Webpack, and it's just so much nicer to look at than React, I think. So this supports syntax highlighting. Looks like it supports everything, including TypeScript, script elements for Vue if you're using that. grammar blocks. Let's see about snippet. So you can use snippets. So snippets defined for TypeScript will be available here. That's fine. I don't really use a lot of snippets. Here's Emmet. New Emmet support is available for HTML, CSS, SCSS, lesson styles. That's kind of cool. Linting. You know what? Let's try Emmet. I mean, I've never tried it before. Let's figure out what exactly that is. I don't want to watch a demo. Has anyone on the stream tried Emmet? Has anyone used it? It might be interesting. I don't want. Let's try it yourself. Okay. Basically, this is start learning with abbreviation syntax and available. So expand CSS like abbreviations depending on current document syntax. Why is there so much? Like, I don't want to see the demo. Type a CSS like abbreviation. Okay, I can see how that would be neat. And then run expand. What? What? That's awesome. That's awesome. But if I just... Whoa. That was cool. That was very cool. I was able to do div.test and then tab. I wonder if that works out of the box. Oh! Oh! I can see how that would be flippin' amazing. What are some other abbreviations here? So that was cool. I was able to just do div.test and then it created a div with a class of test. That was pretty fly. So here it looks like CSS selectors with a few extensions specific for code generation. So if you know how to write CSS selectors and complex CSS selectors, you can transform things pretty quickly. So here is page with an immediate child of div.logo, with a peer of UL with an ID of navigation, direct children of LI times 5, which means 5. And in each LI, there's an A and then item number can be transformed. So in many editors, that's pretty neat. And then it does auto tabbing and indentation too. So let's see if I can just try this out here. So if I say a div list and then a UL and then an LI of times 5, or an LI with a class of item times 5, we'll try that. Oh, that is useful. That is very, very useful. Emmet is already, I'm thinking Emmet is my favorite thing to take away from this tool. That is cool. And so elements, snippets, abbreviations. This is definitely a tool that I think people should check out. Emmet is definitely handy. Okay, going back, linting and error checking, ESLint, which I already have installed. So it says add view to ESLint.validate in VS Code config. When configured correctly, ESLint should work for both template and script. So if I have an erroneous piece of HTML, I already see that ESLint is already configured for view. But again, let's try doing what that is. Control-Shift-P, settings, open user settings. Let's search for ESLint. So it does look like ESLint, ESLint enable, options. I don't see, there's validate, ESLint validates. And let's go ahead and do that. let's copy this in here. Copy to settings, and then it said do that. And I just saved. And I'm not sure. Okay, so I did that, and immediately I see CHR got red all of a sudden. And I see here ESLint is complaining about console.log not being available. But this is running in the browser, so I'm not sure why it would complain about that. If anyone has any thoughts about that, that'd be helpful. When configured, automatically uses view ESLint plugin view for linting template. That's fine. I'm wondering why. Unexpected console statement. I'm going to look that up. ESLint unexpected console statement. Yeah, looks like other people have ran into it. Disallow the use of console. In JavaScript that is designed to be executed in the browser, it's considered a best practice to avoid using methods on console. Yeah. I mean, I can see how, but but this was for debugging, so I can see that being appropriate. Let's see what else. ESLint. Oh, yep. Now it's happy. So ESLint helped a little bit. That was kind of cool. So ESLint. Not sure how AutoScript would work. Autofix. ESLint Studio Code Autofix. So just going through the documentation here. Fix all autofixable problems. Applies ESLint autofix resolutions to fixable problems. So if I did Control P fix all fixable problems. Let's go into memory. Memory is complaining about console log. So let's see fix. Okay, I don't see anything that was fixed. So that probably doesn't do that. Let's see what else. Okay, that doesn't really show much of anything. Terminal. But I mean, I do like the fact that it's already kind of helping a little bit. Yeah, more errors, and I'm sure that's console.log. Yeah, it's catching a lot of the debug statements that I left in my Nintendo emulator. I think that's kind of cool. Just open up my other files. I wonder if there's Control Shift ESLint. It doesn't allow me to do it recursively through there. I wonder if you can. ESLint recursive directory. Studio Code. So, I mean, I could do it, it looks like through command line. But I don't want to run it through command line. I'm trying to improve Studio Code. But, okay. That's cool. And then there is support for formatting. You know, what's really frustrating is I've had times where I can't format files correctly, like the indentation is really jacked up. So if I indented here, normally I could hit V for formatting, but it doesn't look like it's formatting properly. If I do format selection, Control plus K, Control plus F. So let's try that. I messed up my indentation here. Format selection. See, at the bottom it says there is no formatter for view files installed. But it says there's formatters here. Choose each language's default formatter in VS Code config. Setting a language's formatter to none disables formatter for that language. Okay, so VTour. Let's Control-Shift-P, settings. I wish it would go directly to I don't see anything there. So let's see. Format. Oh, that's why. So that's frustrating. I have to clear that in order to see everything here. So what is it called? VETUR. Color decorators, completion, format, default formatter, CSS. Default formatter for template region is none. Let's see, prettier. Okay. We can try prettier. Oh. So it only has options for either none or JS Beautify HTML. So let's try that in there. And save. Let's go back to, well, something. Just mess up some. Okay, so I want to Control K, Control F. Uh-oh. That wasn't it. Control Shift V, format documents. Control. Oh, there's no. What happened to format selection? Well, that worked. The format document brought everything back in with, and that looks like it's all properly indented. Where's that other one? So Control-Shift-P, format. Here, there's format selection. Let's see what that does. There is no formatter for view files installed. Well, that's just wrong. Control-Shift-P, format document. Definitely fixed everything up. Cleaned everything up. Proper indentation. Four tabs for HTML, 2 tabs for JavaScript. Okay. So that's interesting. I've made some changes here. Let's see if there's any more changes that... And then also there's debugging, which I definitely want to get into. Yep, instructions. It's going to complain about console log, which I should have taken out anyways. More console log? No, require. I could have imported that. Why is Popper installed? Why is any of this installed? I don't know. I don't know why. Lodash. I don't think I'm using anything in Lodash. And then let's see. I could see Bootstrap being used. Okay, let's see what happens when I compile. What did it break? Nothing. I didn't break anything. Let's see here. So yeah, see, I imported the Bootstrap Sass. That must have been like old junk. Cool! ESLint helped me find those errors. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and commit this. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-G and and it says 6 files modified. Is there, I don't see any way to stay. Well, I mean, I can hit plus sign, but I'm wondering if these are already, and then this is probably stage all commits. Let's go ahead and hit plus. Okay, so stage changes. Removed references to console.log and cleaned up some formatting. Enter does not submit. There's no key binding for commit. I'd have to Control Shift Tab and then hit enter, and off it went. That's kind of cool. Is there any way to get my log? So hitting ellipsis, pull, sync, publish branch, commit, show get output. That's cool. Debug console. There's that. Okay. That's kind of cool. Oh, did I not save? Ah, crud. Quick commit to update console guide code. Okay. Can I? I'm trying to not use the mouse so much, and it's getting interesting. Okay. Control F4 for closing. That's cool. Okay, so we've got terminal. And that's formatting, so that's cool. What about IntelliSense? What the hell are they doing for IntelliSense? IntelliSense. Using IntelliSense. What is it? Parameter, quick info, and complete word. Okay, so that's kind of like autocomplete, things like that. Let's see. How do you enable it? How do you enable it? So Control P would allow me to open up a file very quickly. So let's see this .get. Okay, so IntelliSense is working. I just never really noticed. Let's see here. Debugging. Let's see what that is. Vue.js decoding in Chrome. Okay. Please make sure to have the latest version of Debugger for Chrome extension installed in VS Code. So let's do that. This is going to be cool. Chrome. Debugger for Chrome. Debug your JavaScript code in the Chrome browser. Okay, this will be cool. Installed, reload. It is reloaded. That will be kind of cool if it works. Let's go back here. Okay. Update your Webpack configuration. Before you can debug your Vue component, you need to update the generated Webpack config to build source maps that contain more information for our debugger. Control Shift E. I mean, there really is no. So I was using Vue. I was using the Vue boilerplate, and I don't see the Webpack stuff just doing it. But I wonder if it's just going to automatically do the allow me to do the debugging right away. Let's try it. Configure launch dot debug view. Okay, let's try it. So it says open up debug, and then click on the gear icon to configure. Select an environment. So this is cool. So already I can support debugging Node.js, PHP, as well as React Native, which I haven't tried that yet. So let's click on Chrome. Okay, so this says configurations, type Chrome, request, launch, name, launch Chrome against localhost 8080 webroot workspace folder. That looks good to me. Why is this so? Type Chrome, request, launch, name. I don't care about the name. URL is correct. Webroot, workspace folder. Okay, so this would need to be in the source. Break on load. Sure. Break on load. Source path overrides webpack / source. Let's try it. And then start debugging. Set a breakpoint on line 90 where the data function returns a string. Okay. Okay. Party. Yeah, let's see. This will be interesting. I think it wants, well, let's close this and let's load up a breakpoint. So we're gonna go to source. And my ROM loader is what's used for cartridge loading. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set a breakpoint here. And then Control-Shift-D. Let's hit play. It loaded up Chrome. And it definitely did not load. It says connection refused on localhost 8080. So that's not good. What? Control-Shift, quote. Was my terminal not loaded? No, it was loaded. It just... my server stopped. Oh, what is it? npm run serve. Let's try it. Okay, so that's running, and let's go ahead and launch. It's running. Okay. Let's load a ROM. It totally did not stop. It did not stop. There was nothing that stopped. That did not stop. And load would definitely, it would stop here. And you can see that it's loaded in breakpoint. I want to figure this out. Okay. Well, we did install and create a new Vue CLI. Change to newly. Okay. Update your Vue components with DevTools source map. But it should already have a source map. I'm pretty sure. If I start it and I hit inspect, where's This is a really slimmed down version of Chrome. It starts like a very minimal version of Chrome. So that's interesting, but it doesn't look like it's sources. Okay, so I mean, it found Webpack. It is showing the sources here. Did it create a? Ooh, that doesn't look right. Source, and then where was it? It was in ROM loader. And let's see here in load. Is there a way? Let's see. Okay, so now I can add a breakpoint in here. Actually, I'll put it in the same place and see what happens here. Well, that worked. And of course, that worked here. But I think that's because the Chrome thing is firing it. But I don't think it loaded the breakpoint properly. Yeah, I don't think it loaded the breakpoint properly. If I close this, and try launching again. Let me just make sure. Sources, Webpack, ROM loader. Okay, there's no breakpoint set here. Yeah, there's no breakpoint that's being loaded here. So I'm wondering, whoa! I'm wondering. Okay. Okay, mapping for. It doesn't look like that's working properly. Well, I do love the fact that Microsoft is contributing so much to various projects, but it looks like debugging is not working as intended. But what's probably good about it, and I wonder if I launch here. See, I can see, why does it say breakpoint set, but not yet bound? Let's see what that means. Debuggers were just. Okay, so it looks like it was working. Really, you'll need a switch? Okay. This is. Okay. I'm still looking here to see why the debugging wouldn't work with Studio Code. And it says breakpoint set but not yet bound is the issue. So my ROM loader is not. So if you hover over it, it says breakpoint set but not yet bound. Okay, I found two little things. Wow, a lot of people are having this issue. A lot of people are having this issue. I think what will happen if I set the debug here. Will it add it here? Let's see. Nope. Nope. So this looks like it's kind of a big issue with the need to reset a breakpoint once to get it to work. I can live with that. Let's see what happens. I mean, it still says breakpoint set but not yet bound. This one is not highlighted. Like, I don't get that. I'm going to remove that. This still says breakpoint set, but let's see if we could reapply all breakpoints. We're just going to try it. Yeah. Oh, I mean, it did set the breakpoint, and it actually worked. That's cool. So it says paused in Visual Studio Code. That's awesome. So here I can see this. Call stack. Oh, this is bomb. This is awesome. We can see variables. We can see this. Oh, this is good. This is good. It's exciting. We see all of our global variables under window. We can see watch, which we could do. But this, and then data. Props. So you can see the whole thing here. Okay, there's a little bit of weirdness there. So this is good. Now, okay, so here's the main debug controls at the top. You can step over, step into, step out, step over. Okay, we get it. Oh boy. Okay, that's a little crazy. Let's just go ahead and hit play because it was diving deep into XHR. Let's go into here. Let's breakpoint this sucker. And if we're in here, we're just going to refresh, see if that breaks. And just because okay, that's the line number. I don't want this one, so we'll go ahead and get rid of this and reapply, and let's run it. Doesn't look like it triggered. Let's close the window and we'll try launching it again. And we'll set the breakpoint again. Okay, breakpoint set, which is cool. And yeah, if we're in here, we definitely see the local variables of response. So this is a response from Axios, and we can see all of our data here. which is great. This is good. I like this debugger. And here's the debug console that's tied directly in there, so I can just say console.log. But I can't necessarily set. I wonder if I can... Well, I mean, okay, so it looks like I can run it in there, but how would I be able to get a reference to the view component? That's interesting. But it looks like debugging is working pretty well. And that's cool. And I'm definitely going to use that in our next time where we start working on the Nintendo debugger some more, I think. So that's cool. Bravo, Microsoft. Framework support for Element UI and Onsen UI. What's Onsen UI? Wow, that's very bright. Oh, that's really nice. Android view, iOS view. This is nice. Never came across this. Huh. I was not familiar with this framework. But it looks nice. And then there's Element UI. Which, this should be the website. Ooh. It's kind of nice. Component. Okay, there's some nice stuff here. So, yeah, that's for that. What's their roadmap for this? For this view integration? Looks pretty awesome. I love it. Good job. Good job. Okay, so that was that. What is Beautify? Oh, JS Beautify. NPM IntelliSense. Oh, this looks cool. This would be very useful. So this is to make it so that when you're typing or bringing in modules from your installed Node modules, it will autocomplete it. Yeah, yes please. We're gonna install that. Bam. That's pretty good. That is pretty sweet. Okay. Cool. And let's see. What other tricks are there? So let's figure out some more about this terminal. What are some of the terminal commands? Terminal. There's terminal clear. Let's see what that is. That just simply clears it. There's terminate task, terminal, copy selection, delete word, focus, run active file in active terminal. That's kind of cool. Then there's control. Okay, so control shift creates a new terminal. And then there's split. Ooh. Ooh. What did I just do? That's hot. Okay, so now I can have split views? I didn't know you could do that. That was cool. So that was Control Slash. Oh, and you can do that up to 3 times. That's nice. I wonder if there's options for that. Toggle full screen. Let's see what full screen looks like. Okay, that's pretty self-explanatory, and I like it. Toggle centered layout. Oh, do not like. Do not like. Okay, in split editor is Control and then toggle editor group layout, Alt Shift 0, Alt Shift 0. Maybe if I do that. Oh. Okay, so Alt Shift 0 will alternate between horizontal and vertical splitting. Oh, okay. That is cool. And then Control F4 will close that. That is cool. That is cool. Control B for toggling sidebar. But Control B for Vim bindings is gonna do that. So let's. That's not gonna be good. Vim bindings, you know? Yeah, because if I'm not in my active window, I wonder if they figure that out. Studio, code, Vim, control, hide sidebar. But if I'm in a window, Control B is going to take me to the top. So we're going to do that. We're going to go to Settings, Sidebar. Let's see. Is there a hotkey? How do you modify hotkeys? Studio Code override hotkeys. Preferences, keyboard shortcuts. Let's do that. Control Shift P, keyboard, open shortcuts. Wow. Sidebar. Toggle sidebar visibility is Control B. Let's do Control Shift B. Control Shift B. I think that works out pretty well because you have Control Shift G for get, Control Shift E, D for debug, X for extensions, and B for hiding the sidebar. That's cool. That's really good. Okay. I want to know more about complex PHP projects. Yeah, let's do complex PHP projects. I'm going to open up one of my projects here. This is my language learning site. It's written in PHP. It's a pretty large project. It's Laravel based. Control Shift G. What's all these changes? What are all these changes? Oh. Oh. So that's nice. Control and then clicking on a modified file is going to show me what's been modified. Oh, this was me working on search capability. Okay. Control F4. So that's nice. Okay. Control Shift E. That's Blade. Let's look at, so if we go to Control Shift X for extensions and we want to show installed, We have PHP debug support. Totally get that. So PHP extension pack has debugger and IntelliSense. That would be this, IntelliSense. So it requires PHP 7. And I think I have that. So opening up my terminal. Why doesn't it auto focus? It did. Let's trash that. And then it did. So I have PHP 7.19, so that's cool. Let's see if it can support, so I'm going to open up a controller here. We'll just do a new file, test controller. Okay. So it's not doing IntelliSense on here that I can see. Control-Shift-P. Open user settings. Let's search for PHP. So the validation, Control-Shift-X, IntelliSense. It says recommend to disable by setting that to false. Get it. It says find all references. I don't see any of this being done at all. PHP Code Sniffer, going to load that up next. But here, I don't see any of this. Problems. Okay, so it did find a couple things. I guess it's kind of working. Public function test. If we said use app models, it's not auto completing like available things here. So I don't find the IntelliSense is doing a good job. Let's see what else is going on here. Let's change this to false. Points to the PHP executable. Null. I mean, I can go ahead and put it in there. Let's look here and go into environment variables. Path. Oof. It's not in there. Where do I have? It's in examp. Let's look at that. That is indeed the one. So E XAMPP PHP -php.exe. Cannot validate since it's not a valid execute. Oh, gotta put that slash in there. Okay. Did it complain? Doesn't look like it. So let's try that again. Use app. Yeah, see, it's not auto-completing class names or anything like that. That's kind of a bummer. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. And I've got suggest basic to false. And I mean, yeah, that doesn't look right. Is there a way to wonder where's the GitHub? Where's the GitHub? I don't see how you can do this. Is this something that you have to run? Let's see here. Studio code PHP IntelliSense. Maybe somebody has. Okay, this is kind of cool. So PHP extensions, IntelliSense. Okay. Control space for snippet. Let's try that real quick. Control space. That kind of worked. No suggestions for that. But it would be under app models. Let's say new app models chat control space. No suggestions. It just doesn't feel right. So we have the linter here. Yeah, this doesn't work right. No auto suggestions of any kind. That's true. Let's look at the output. Language server. So it definitely was parsing everything. Let's see if it parsed my... I mean, yeah, it's definitely parsing. It even did that. Let's see. Kanji equals new study list. Control Shift. No suggestions. It just doesn't feel right. Control Shift is really having issues here. It definitely looks like other people are having issues here. So this looks not working, although following the guide. Okay. This looks like other people have had this issue as well. I wonder, it says it does find, so if we right click, let's find all references. Okay, so find all references work. That's good. That's good. Okay, that's good. But it definitely doesn't show autocomplete. So that's really kind of frustrating. Hey, Junicus, welcome back to the stream. Glad to see you here. Today we're kind of just tinkering around with Studio Code and really trying to make it super powerful. You missed a lot in regards to the JavaScript stuff that we were working on. I was able to get the remote debugger working, checked out some other really cool things. Emmet is a really cool tool. Right now I'm looking at PHP land and trying to understand why IntelliSense, which is kind of like Studio Code's autocomplete functionality and inspection and things like that, is just totally not working, which is kind of a bummer. It looks like people were having issues here. Looks like somebody solved the issue and it was working there. Validate executable path. That is cool. Junicus, if there's any tips or tricks that you have up your sleeve, let me know. I stumbled over Control Slash, which allows me to split windows, which is really, really cool. That is very, very awesome. And then each window can have its own tabs. I thought that was neat. But I am definitely trying to figure out why IntelliSense isn't working. One of the big things that I like about Studio Code is just being able to hotkey everything. So I think that is really cool. Validate executable path is there, and then PHP executable path. Let's add that too. And copy that. Oops. Yank. Okay. And let's go back to our output. And what I like about Studio Code is, again, you highlight everything, and it will potentially show you the hotkey. So from now on, Control-Shift-U is output, which is really helpful. I can see, and then when you're in output, if you want to see the output of whatever tool, you can click on this drop down and it's going to show you everything here. So I can see my PHP language tool going and parsing everything. But I don't know if it's going to, it's definitely not showing autocomplete, which is yeah, that's really a bummer. It is showing Emmet stuff, but it's not. That's a shame. It did not give me the format document. That's fine. I don't care about document. I care about that. I'm wondering what would happen if I closed the project and opened it up again, if it would start magically just working. Because I do see it is parsing everything. So let's go ahead and close Studio Code. All right, so we have this open. Let's look at the output. I'm not seeing anything here. See, it's showing that new app models. Yeah, it's not showing any of my autocomplete, which is really kind of a bummer. Yeah, it's just not showing any autocomplete. That is cruddy, man. It looks like support for Vue and JavaScript was so much better, but this just doesn't look right. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to click on that. I'm just going to leave a note here. But language server showed parsing of all files. Node.js, hey guys, how are you doing? Again, we're just checking out Visual Studio Code. If you want me to go back to just hacking on some JavaScript and improving my flow with JavaScript, let me know. I was just trying to take a look at their PHP support, and it looks like it's just not working. Yeah, in the output, I can see all files parsed. But obviously I say, you know, var equals new, nothing. Control Shift, nothing. Oh, it did. It finally did. I wonder if I do that. Yeah, so PHP Storm definitely has better better support for inspection, and this is just running dog slow for that. So that's unfortunate. I'm hoping that they improve that quite a bit. Let's see if we can do use. Normally, ooh, that's kind of weird. That's kind of funky. See that? That's just not right. Yeah, definitely doesn't look good there. I agree, Node.js does have some advantages over PHP. But I'm not going to say that it's better. Just depends on what kind of app you're building and what your team is using. Okay, so that's enough of PHP land. That's just not going to work here. Let's go back to the Nintendo emulator in JavaScript. That should help here. TypeScript just works, but yeah, I mean, syntactical sugar. I don't know. I think ES6 is enough syntactical sugar for me. Improvements there. Tunica says that Visual Studio Code is best at doing TypeScript. It does have pretty quick support for TypeScript. I'll just add support for it and take a look at what extensions it installed. Definitely will install ESLint. I know that for a fact. There is TSLint that it automatically installed, which is obviously going to be the linter. So that's definitely helpful. I agree. Node.js says, well, it's easier for front and back end devs to work together since they both have a knowledge in JS. That's true, especially good for smaller teams, but larger teams, you might have disparate tools. And it really depends on the job, right? There are going to be certain workloads where PHP is definitely more agreeable, where Node.js is more agreeable. You might be having to build something in Go. Don't be afraid to really look at the project that you're trying to build out and go, okay, what's the right tool for this? And you have to strike a balance too, right? Like you need to either have existing people who know that language or the tools that you're going to use, or be able to find people who know those tools very, very quickly. Junicus, I don't have that many extensions. I only have ESLint. I got to tell you, there are some really cool extensions. One extension that I found that was really, really handy is this advanced new file. And this was apparently inspired by a feature in Sublime where you can easily add a new file. Let's go to E. If I do Control Shift P, new file, I can just go ahead and, I believe, just write a new file. No? What was it? I said it was cool, and then I don't even know how to use it, right? It was usage advanced new file. Yes. That's what I did. Control-Alt-N. Right. Oh, you have to first select the path, right? So source, and then enter, and then the file name. So test.js. And then now I have test.js. And you can see that it's in that directory. So I think it's pretty easy to do. I just haven't created new files in here. Control-Alt-N is it. And yeah, you have to select the path first. And it's pretty quick to be able to do that. A file delete. Yes. Very cool. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Atom as well. I know that the developer that I sit next to, she uses Atom. I find it really nice. I took a look at it. I really love how editors are taking a much more minimalistic approach. I like that a lot. I will say this. I'm just going to load up PHP Storm just to kind of show you what I'm migrated from. I used to use Sublime Text as well, but then I went to PHP Storm just because I was doing a lot of PHP projects, and you can see that the interface is definitely a little bit more noisy. There's definitely a lot more Chrome around. So, a lot of people sometimes like having all of the gears and toggles right in front of them, right to view it. But not necessarily me. I know, though, that any editor that I load up, whether it's Sublime Text or PHP Storm or whatever, the first add-on or extension I look for is Vim bindings. If you don't know Vim, I will tell you that learning just a few of the basics of Vim will save you so much time in regards to editing, in regards to moving code around, formatting, navigating your file. It's a lot easier. Junica says, hey, just got home late. I wanted to add parse to the back end of the current project I'm working on. Are you talking about parse the project? Or what do you mean by that? Would love to know more about what you're working on. Judica says, Atom got slow when adding just a few simple extensions. What platform were you on? share that. It'd be kind of helpful for other people. I'm pretty surprised at how light and nimble Studio Code is running. I have a lot of extensions loaded. I have Control-Shift-U for output. I have a fair amount of tools running. Let's take a look at its memory usage real quick. That would actually be kind of interesting to see. So here, let's see. Definitely running quite a few things underneath it. It's running my terminal, running a couple consoles, code helper tools, running Git, but everything underneath it, about half a gig. That's not bad. That's not bad. Judica says, yeah, I was talking about parse server. Let's see what that is. I don't know what that is. Wait, isn't... Yeah, are you... Oh, this is the community version. Okay. This is the community version. Yeah, because I was like, parse, it sounds familiar, but wasn't that shut down? And so what? The community brought it up and they're just kind of supporting it now? I wonder. Yeah. Okay, that's kind of cool. Glad to see that project's not dead. Interesting. That's interesting. What are you working on? What's your project? If you're able to share the information. Would love to know more about it. Close up some of my tabs here. So that's good. So advanced new file, definitely a very, very handy one if you're, in a new project, relatively new project, and you have to create a lot of files. Again, it's one of those things where I don't want to, I don't want to have to use my mouse as much as possible. And that it just makes it easier for me. Every time my hand moves away from my keyboard, it's seconds lost. You'll never get them back. In fact, I remember when I was working at Yahoo, when I got hired at Yahoo, this was, back in 2013, 2012, 2013. No, way before that. I'm talking about 2007. Anyways, when Yahoo was worth working at, when I got hired, they didn't even let me touch a computer for about like a month. All that time was spent in evaluating my posture, my work environment, and they designed a workspace that was just built for you ergonomically. And it's crazy. Like almost every person's workstation was customized based off of it. And I remember walking finally into my little cubicle with my new setup, and it looked like this weird torture device. The keyboard tray was all crazy and separated. The keyboard was this super small keyboard with like chiclet keys that sounded really noisy when you typed. It was mechanical, but it was like chiclet. It was really weird. And then the entire number pad area was cut off, and then the mouse. But the end result was I was able to like really minimize my arm movement and stuff. So I really recognized the value out of that. That's what I took out of Yahoo. Nothing else. That's the value I took out of Yahoo. And it really helped me become a faster developer in that way. Juno says, making a 50-50 raffle manager, backend and front end React Native, and a React front end for management configuration. That's cool, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. React Native, yesterday's stream was about React Native, and I came back to it, just looking at it, and in regards to React, because like I said, I've been doing a lot of development in Vue, and I wanted to give React a chance. And the more I thought about it, the more I feel like Vue is just going to catch up, and it's going to take over. I feel, given enough time. Unless React does some more unique things. And the reason why is because the learning curve for React is just a little more steeper than Vue. And with Vue, it's a lot faster to get up and running, right? With React, you do need to have a Webpack, Babel kind of tool chain in place, right? Because you have to use ES6 syntax, and you have to know what that syntax is, right? And that is still relatively new to a lot of people. And then you have that tool chain, which makes it a little more difficult. You have with Vue though, you could just bring in a script file. You could just load it from a CDN. You could just load up a JavaScript file and no ES6 syntax required. And you can immediately create Vue components and get by on that without having an additional tool chain. And their documentation on Vue is dramatically better than React's, way better. So I think with the higher learning curve and the requirements around React, it definitely makes it a little bit more frustrating than working in Vue. And other people that I've talked to have kind of agreed. There was a person who went through like a development boot camp and they used React, and then she just recently started using Vue, and she was very, very excited about it. I would say, Junikus, give Vue a chance. Go take a look at it. I know that you said you were thinking about potentially looking at it. I would definitely dive in. And in fact, I might set up a stream for kind of introing to Vue. My emulator obviously is written in Vue. And Junikus, I'm not saying like this, the learning curve is steep for seasoned developers who may already have experience with like TypeScript and ES6 or anything. Like, it's going to become pretty easy, and we picked it up pretty quickly in last night's stream. But what I am saying is, for newcomer web developers who are getting ready to build more advanced JavaScript applications, I think for them, Vue is going to be a little bit easier. For sure. So we did a little bit of debugging, which was really, really cool. I wanted to load up my emulator again just to kind of remember where I was. Okay. Because I loaded up a debugger profile in here, I did see this .vs code, and this is my launch.json. So it looks like if you do have, what I really liked before about Studio Code was, remember how I said, if you're starting a new project, it asks you a bunch of these questions, and then usually you're going to have this weird folder in your project, like .idea or something like that. That was a configuration for the project, and for the most part, Visual Studio avoided that. But as soon as I added the debugger configuration, I did see a .vs code. Do we have it in a .ignore? Get ignore? Yeah, it looks like the Vue project boilerplate, which includes a .get ignore, automatically ignored Visual Studio Code, which I think is helpful. But then, yeah, my launch is here. I still feel like this isn't working as well as it should. There was definitely some gotchas with debugging. So that's a little weird. What are some other extensions that I installed before? So I installed FileUtils. This was useful. This was another one. So Advanced New File is just for create a new file. FileUtils has a couple other helpful things around file. In fact, if you saw Control P or Control Shift P for palette, and then file, everything prefixed with file has additional things here. So there's definitely some additional file utilities here. Clear recently opened, compare active file with clipboard. That's kind of cool. Compare active file with saved, things like that. That's cool. So FileUtils, definitely one that I liked. NPM IntelliSense. This is something I just found, Junikus. So this is definitely interesting. Let's see here. Hey, Ben. Yeah, the mic sounds better. You know what? I found out yesterday the reason why it was sounding so horrible was because XSplit decided that my Oculus Rift microphone should be my default, and my Oculus Rift is way over there. And so you got like the crazy weird room echo and everything like that, and I just didn't know. So I just thought you all were crazy. Judicus says, there are a few things in that .vs code in addition to that launch JSON. If you do project-specific settings for your workspace, then they go there too. It has a task runner that you can also configure in there. So you can have settings specifically for your for this workspace. Preferences, open workspace settings. Ooh, that's cool. That's cool. That's really neat. So that means you can have, so obviously you have your default Visual Studio settings, then you have your user settings, and then you have your workspace settings. Sounded like a dog scratching a few times. No, that was me. That was definitely me. Also, if you do gitignore.io and use Visual Studio Code, it will give you a nice gitignore for use with this editor. You know what? I never even knew gitignore.io existed. What is that? Gitignore.io. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. So what? If I can put, well, it said operating system. Okay, Mac OS. Let's see, PHP Storm, PHP or Laravel. Let's see what comes up here. Create. This is cool. This is really cool. So it immediately adds things like the PHP Composer vendor, node modules, things for Laravel 4, for 5. That's really useful. Cool. Junicus, thank you. That is helpful. And then then there's PHP Storm stuff. Oh, this is cool. What a useful project. What a useful project. I'm gonna go on here and star it. That's my little contribution to this repository. Good job, guys. That is helpful. Go back here. So thank you, Junicus. That is very, very helpful, that knowing workspaces can have their own. NPM IntelliSense, this is a no-brainer, and I was surprised that it didn't have this embedded with JavaScript IntelliSense. So what's good about this is now I could go into here and maybe what is something that I have in node modules? I have Axios in here. So let me just say import Axios from, see, that's awesome. That's good. What? Oh, that's cool. But yeah, the NPM IntelliSense really is helpful. Graysol, hey, welcome Graysol. Welcome to the conversation and glad to see you contributing. There's also github.com/github/gitignore. Yeah, and that is a common repository. So just kind of grabbing that real quick. What's cool about this, yes, is standard git ignores. But what's cool about gitignore.io is that you can combine what your environments are. That's what I like about gitignore.io. And I wonder if gitignore.io pulls the gitignores from the repository you're sharing and kind of concatenates them. Hero, hey, welcome to the conversation. Glad to see you're here. We were talking about improving your tools. I was playing around with Studio Code. We were improving JavaScript and PHP workflows, and now we're just kind of veering off and talking about various tools. So if there's any kind of tools that you recommend that you use that are useful, do speak up, share. It'd be good to kind of share that knowledge. So yeah, I was wondering if this just concatenates, and since this is open source, it'd be good to kind of see what it is. This looks like it. Really? What language is this written in? Swift. Wow. That's weird. That's cool. I don't really see Swift being used a lot for web apps. I didn't even know you could do that. But this project seems pretty baller. Look at that. 99% coverage. That's awesome. I don't know Swift, so I can't even tell how it's doing it. Yeah, this doesn't really help. Yeah, I don't see this here. Yeah, I don't see how it's getting the templates. But still, two very, very cool projects. Let's see here. Junica says, yeah, but VS Code does that without that extension. Maybe they have something else that makes it better. Probably a few of them. When I tried it before, it did not work. So let's uninstall it. Okay, and let's reload Studio Code. I just want to be proven wrong. Import Axios from... it is doing it. It is doing it now. What other... Okay, so it's not doing it. Yeah. It's not doing it for the packages that I have installed. You see that? But if we do install that, npm IntelliSense. This one includes more. Okay, so npm IntelliSense is just for auto-completing npm modules that you have installed. So we'll definitely install that. This next one is npm, and it says it supports running npm scripts defining the package JSON and then validating the installed modules against the dependencies. Let's install that. We'll try that out too. Let's see here. Ooh, there's a little bit of discussion going on here. Graysell says uses Git Tower. Yep, I hear that's a great tool, but you are right, it's not free. I'm just going to pull it up real quick here. I have heard a lot of good things about it. Are they just calling it Tower now? Looks like they're just calling it Tower. But I've heard good things. I was using it when they were doing their beta, and it seemed to crash a lot, but obviously they fixed it. Judica says, I have C#, Docker, .env, ESLint. I'm going to be playing around with maybe some game development, so I might learn C#. I remember I touched it briefly. Docker is dope. I agree-ish. Depends. It can get out of hand, in my opinion. But it's great for, deployment tools. For local development, I think it's overkill. But I just have a super beefy machine and the resources to run like 20 virtual machines and be okay with it. And to me, that still emulates a production environment more closely, unless your production environment is fully Dockerized. And, the organizations I'm with just aren't there yet. Let's see here. Hero says, I also like JS and React. Hey, well, I do have a recording of the last night's stream where we dived into React Native. And that was cool. I think it was fun. Again, I have some opinions about React, but Graysall says another tool is Doku. Let's take a look at that real quick. Viewdocs.io Doku. I appreciate you guys joining in the conversation. This is a lot of fun. I'm learning a lot of things too. Sudoku is the smallest pass implementation you've ever seen. Okay. Own your pass. Infrastructure at a fraction of the cost. Okay. I see that. Use the extra cash to buy a pony or feed kittens. Okay. A little kitschy here. A little kitschy. I don't know about that. Some huggable marketing speak there. But it would be interesting. So, okay. I'm on Windows, guys. I'm on Windows. So I might have to take a look at Doku later in a virtual machine. But this is interesting. So what? Is it just deployment? Deployment via Docker? Grace, let me know what you think or what you summarize Doku as. Okay? That would be helpful. And Junicus, you have an icon theme. Nomo dark icon theme. I've got no icons. Super clean. The best icon theme is no icon theme. Graysall says it's the open source version of the Heroku tool belt. Okay. Okay. Junica says maybe it actually has to do with the file type being view. That is very possible. That's possible. Control-Shift-D. That is possible. Let's do Control-Alt-N, source, test.js. Import, write from... Nope. Didn't do it. Didn't do it. Didn't show me anything. So let's reload. Now I'm back in test. I'm going to do Control-Shift-U so I can look at the output and see, is there any output for that extension? No. I'm going to do import. Let me just, yeah. Import write from, no, yeah. I don't know what's going on with it. Junica says the color theme you use is dark plus. I use slime. Slime theme. In fact, this is a port from, I guess, a popular Atom theme. Fonts used in screenshots is IBM Plex Mono. I don't think I have that. Fonts are so important. What is my font? What is my font on here? Consoles. I think it's clean. I think it's clean. But I'm open to looking at it. Yeah, it's a little more of a rounded theme. Let's see here. Well, the extensions are for formatting the files with nice IntelliSense. Yeah, so build your platform with Docker. Don't tell me what to do. No, and you know what? I need to learn more Docker. I did enough Docker to realize, again, steep learning curves, you know, and my situation is when things go wrong with large-scale deployments, I found at the time when I was playing with Docker, there wasn't enough work done around orchestration tools to make it easier. But I know that, you know, with Google Cloud and AWS, they've done a lot of great work with orchestration. So it might be a topic definitely worth revisiting. Let's see. We're getting into a font war. Comic Sans. Should I even load that up in Studio to see what it looks like? Solarize next. Docker is containers. It's container format. But don't go into a container war, guys. Everybody, it's all good. You know, my deployment of choice is still virtualized servers. You know, I deploy a lot in AWS. Just EC2 instances, lightweight, auto scaling, and I don't have any problems, you know, but we got to do more in regards to discussions with serverless programming and lightweight container deployments. You know, I agree. Hey, thanks so much for the follow. I really, really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. That's really, really helpful, Hero. Hopefully you're getting a lot out of this discussion. So font wars, guys. That's pretty interesting. This is cool. So yeah, I mean, Slime theme. What else did I have installed here? So we have npm. Oh, we haven't ran npm here. So I'm in my my NES emulator project. And thanks again for the follow. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hopefully you'll find the future streams really useful as well. So let's see here. Let's do Control-Shift-P npm. Okay, that's cool. So npm gave me these prefixed commands. Rerun last script. That would probably rerun what I ran before. Let's do npm start. Yeah, so this view boilerplate does npm run serve. So what's up with that? What's up with that? npm. Oh, so that looked like it did something. Let's do Control-Shift-P npm IntelliSense import module. jQuery popper and view. I don't understand where it got that list from. Okay, so npm, what if we do run script? Okay, there we go. Then it gives me my script options, npm run serve, and it's doing it inside my terminal. Okay, that's cool. What setting do I use for fat cursor? What do you mean by fat cursor, Graysal? Let me know what you mean by that. I got a weird error in npm run serve. Webs is not found. Did I accidentally delete a dependency? That's not good. Control-Shift to open up a new terminal. Just letting you know, I am running the Git Bash terminal. I'm not running PowerShell or the regular terminal. Way better. Let's do an npm update while we talk. Graysell, you said never mind. Found it. Try task. You can build your task runner from package.json. Is that an extension? No? Hero says, followed my channel. Thank you again so much. I really appreciate it. Please show me the coding of React and Redo in next streaming. I have not. Do people say Redux or Redo? I wonder. But yeah, we can dive into that for sure. I appreciate it. We will definitely try that out. Judica says, nope, that is a VS Code setting. Let's try that. Task. Okay. Task, run task. Okay, let's wait for an npm update, and then I'm going to give that a shot. Like F1 then task? F1. Oh, is F1 another one of those keyboards for... that apparently opens up the command palette. Same as Control-Shift-P. So which one would be better, you know? I can see if I move to F1, my hand is definitely moving more. Control-Shift-P, I'm still closer to the home row. This is really what's really, you know, what I love about like Vim and you know, learning the key bindings. One, you do it enough and it becomes automatic, and you just don't realize how fast you start to become. Plus, you look awesome doing it. You look sweet. It's like you're plugged into the Matrix. Okay, so that's cool. We have npm update running. Looks like something happened in here. Oh, that's why. That's why we got the problem, because we were playing around earlier. npm update doesn't need to finish, but we'll let it run. Graysal says Vim over Emacs. You are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. Do we have any Emacs people on the stream? I hope not. I hope so. So I can tell you Vim is better. Let's see here. So yeah, Redux in React. I will definitely schedule that for an upcoming stream. So stay tuned. And like I said, I did jump into React Native yesterday. Oh, looks like I have an error here in unlink. Operation not permitted unlinking. Whatever. I don't think that's going to be a problem, actually, because everything is still there, right? All right, so let's do that. Let's do Control P task, run task. Yeah, that works too. npm serve. You're absolutely right. Judica says, I also have lights on my keyboard, so I have certain things lit so I can navigate to those shortcuts in the dark really fast. Turn on a light. Turn on a light. What keyboard do you have? That would be very interesting to see how you've mapped that out so that it's there. I have a Corsair mechanical K65 keyboard. I could definitely map out visually colors to certain keys, so it'd be really interesting to know how you do it. If you just joined and you have other tips and tricks on some tools that you use that you find super useful so that you can become a faster developer, share them. I'm learning a lot with some of the things that you all are saying, so totally appreciate it. So let's see here. Yeah, why is this not? Anyways, let's do Control-Shift-P task, run task, and then npm run serve. Okay, that definitely gave me more options. And I'm not sure if I want all these options when I'm just wanting to run. Let's just choose never scan the task output, and let's see. Okay, so here's a problem. It looks like it didn't pick up my path. It looks like this didn't run in a path. Graycell, do languages count as tools? Yeah, they do. Yeah, you got to choose the right tool for the job. You know, I'm not going to write PHP for a multi-parallel computation application. I'm not going to shoehorn my favorite language into something that it's not meant to do. So definitely, if you have a language of choice, speak up. I'd love to know about it. And if I don't know it, maybe we can talk about it in an upcoming stream. Oh yeah, so Junicus Corsair K70 RGB. Is that what I have? Probably not. I don't know if you have the number pad or not, but like I said, I have a small keyboard, number pad chopped off. That way, I have better movement of my arm. Let's see here. I've been doing Clojure for a few months. My favorite lang I've used so far. Really? I might just hop into that really quick just to kind of take a look at it. So yeah, the npm, that didn't work. That didn't work really well. Control-Shift-P, npm, rerun script, serve. Okay, so that shows that I'm still broken there. Hey, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hopefully you can catch us on a future stream. So we have still bad output there. Let's try that again. Control-Shift-P, npm, run script, serve. Now it's saying view CLI service. Did it just not install view CLI service? That's not good. Okay, let's kill our node modules. Okay, we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. Yes, Clojure. Let's take a look at that. So, Graycell, tell us a little bit why you like Clojure. What are some projects that you've worked on where you found that Clojure was the right tool for the job? It'd be very interesting to know. Let us know what you think the pro and con is. Okay, That would be very helpful. Judy says, hasn't played too much with Task. I usually just have the terminal open on the bottom or in Commander. Commander. I don't know what Commander is. Is that Linux tool, Windows tool, Mac tool? Let me know. So what are the... okay, so this looks like it's a dynamic language that's has access to the Java frameworks with optional type hinting and type inference to ensure that calls to Java can avoid reflection. It's a dialect of Lisp and shares with Lisp the code as data philosophy and a powerful macro system. Okay. What would it take for getting started? Gracel says, I'm still a college student, so I haven't made many projects. Ported a backend from Node to Clojure. That's about it. Hey, though, that's awesome. You know, I love taking projects and kind of decompiling them, figuring out how they work, and seeing if you can build something else in a different language. That's one of the ways you learn. So, good job. Was searching for a functional language, and none really clicked till I found Clojure. Well, I'm glad you found Clojure. I found, so you're still in school. Are you looking for a development career after college? Let us know. You know, what's your plans? What's on your roadmap? Junica says it's a Windows console emulator, so I can run ZSH or ZSH command. CMDER. Commander console emulator. Okay. Portable console emulator for Windows. Hey, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you. Kadubstep, thank you. So this is a portable console emulator for Windows. What's the deal here? It's a software package created out of pure frustration over the absence of console emulators on Windows. Okay. So does it have any compatibility with like Linux commands? What's your biggest thing here? What's the big benefit to this? How does this make your development workflow faster? Gracel says, I'm a computer science student. Yeah, short term. Want to get into development. Long term, something like management or venture capital. That's good, man. I would say if you are going to get into development, take a look at my second stream. Actually, it's my first recorded stream. I talk about how to get your feet wet in open source projects. That way you can start getting kind of a portfolio of experience and some reality checks on how it is to work with larger development teams, different development processes. And that might give you some more real world experience. Plus, if you are to sit down in a job interview as a fresh college computer science graduate, and they say, well, what kind of experience do you have? You can show them your open source profile on GitHub and all the contributions you've made, and that will help. And those are contributions that don't require code development experience. That can be everything from just filing issues to translations, creating images, but it shows your collaboration. And from a hiring perspective, because I do hiring for developers, that's really invaluable for me, especially if you are just coming out of school. Gracel says, really big game changer with Clojure is the Lisp REPL. You can jack into running programs and modify them on the fly. So that's cool. That's a runtime code modification. That means you can actually modify the running code. So is that interpretive then? Is that fully interpretive? So for instance, it's trivial to have a program printing out 1, 2, 3, and et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I agree. Okay, Dubstep, again, welcome to the conversation. If you have any tips or tricks or tools that you think are really invaluable as a developer, speak up. We're just learning here. You work as a JavaScript developer, always looking to learn more, computer engineering student. So you're a developer and a student? If so, congrats. That's awesome. JavaScript developer, what have you built? What tools are you using? Any JavaScript frameworks? What do you like? What do you don't like? Judica says, yes, it has Linux commands, grep and the like, but basically it's like your git bash. Okay. I might give it a shot. The only reason why I like my git shell a lot is, it does have support for some piping, Pretty good support with, obviously the Git commands off the bat. Everything seemed to work really well, but I'm willing to give other tools a shot, so I'll definitely give this a shot. What do you think is its killer feature? You said it gives you access to ZSH like functionality. What do you think is its killer feature? That would be kind of a good thing to find out. So let's see what happened. Okay, so Node definitely installed all the packages. Did it install that Vue CLI? No. So what happened here? npm run serve. Well, that worked. That worked running it manually. So that's good. But let's try running it through npm. Okay, it's working. That's good. Okay, so we have the emulator running, so that's cool. Control Shift D for debugging. We have debugging, but of course we know that debugging is a little buggy in Visual Studio Code with the Chrome debugger, so that's unfortunate. Let's go back to it. Judica says, do you remember Doom? I like to control tilde to bring up the console on any app that I'm at. It has a Doom mode. Yeah, I'm old enough to know Doom. But did Doom have the console, or was it Quake that first came out? Did Doom? Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. Doom definitely had it. Yeah, other than that, it's your standard terminal. Yeah. Does anyone remember Enlightenment? Anyone was a Linux user using Enlightenment? Enlightenment was the super hot eye candy. Made everything look cool. So you can like put on your sunglasses and act like an elite hacker. Run Enlightenment. Those days are past. Now we're all using like formal code editors and trying to just work properly. Okay, let's load up our browser, because let's just start coding a little bit and see if Studio Code can give us some more power here. So I'm running my NES emulator. Let's see here. When we were last working on this, and it was my first stream, we were working on trying to get just some graphics stuff going. And we got as far as loading the Mario ROM, right? And that loaded it. And you can definitely see the processor is doing stuff. And then I was able to look at the CHR data and see sprites that are loaded from the game, which that was like a killer progress. So that was cool. And then what I was working on, I think what I will continue working on, is the CPU emulation a little bit. So I'll probably work on that just a little bit more, probably for about half an hour. Then we might call it a night. But let's see if somehow Studio Code can help with that a little bit. You know what's frustrating is every time I load up Node modules, I have to scroll through this stupid long folder. I'm wondering if there's a way to just close a folder. Studio Code close folder? The command to close the currently open folder can be found from File, Close Folder. Let's try that. Control-Shift-P, close folder? Nope. Close editor, close other. Nope, I don't see a close folder. Control-KF. Ah, that closed everything. Click on any and use, you said, let's go back and open it, open recent. Click on any and then hit left. Yeah, that'll close it. But that requires me to close or use my mouse. Graysell says, hey, I just hide node modules in my tree view. That's cool. Sometimes I have to go to node modules just to kind of Take a look at what was installed, because not everything's going to be in your package JSON. But yeah, Control Shift P, close panel, editor, editors, and other groups. This closed every open folder. What if I only want to close one? Under the file menu, let's see, file, close folder. Nah, man, that closes everything. That closes your entire folder project. Surely, don't call me Shirley. There's definitely got to be a way. There's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. For those who joined, if you have any tools, any tips, tricks that makes your development lifecycle a little bit easier, or just really generally a very cool project, definitely post it, share it. Let's talk about it. I'll navigate to it. Yeah, I know a folder is a workspace, but there are folders in a workspace too. So, gotcha. But yeah, there's not an expand. Maybe there's expand or collapse. File, collapse folders in Explorer. Did you see that? Oh! Ooh! So, again, that's collapse folders in Explorer. And I don't know if that was brought in from the file utils. File, close folder. File, delete, file, bop, bop, bop. So there are commands here to close. That was really useful. Let's just open a whole bunch here. Then if I hit Control P, file, collapse folders, file, close, recently opened, but collapse folders in Explorer, that is useful. That is useful. And then, of course, Control P would allow you to immediately open up a file, and that's super useful. So shortcuts, hotkeys, commands, that's good. Let's see. Is there a module that can be used to execute Python files in Node? Well, I mean, you can use the execution libraries for Node to run an external script. Graysell says, "What? You what, mate? You want to do what? You want to do what?" No, I mean that's totally an honest thing. There are language bindings in other languages. Now, just for example, PHP, right? Like you could run JavaScript in PHP. Yeah, there's actually an interpreter for it. There's also an interpreter for Lua inside PHP. So yeah, don't laugh. You can, there are ways to make it so that you can have interpreters and language execution engines inside other languages, and then get access and more functionality out of that. So here's the V8.js JavaScript engine for PHP. And yeah, it's a JavaScript execution engine running inside PHP. Now, the question, though, was, is there a module that can be used to execute Python files in Node.js? So execute Python in Node. Very, very simple. Yes. The very first example shows spawning a child process. And yes, that's basically creating a process in the operating system. And yes, I can see that what they're doing here is that your Python script, so in your Python script, you would definitely, you do your execution, and then you would print back something. And then in your Node script, you would obviously fetch the data of, standard out, and then parse it. So a really useful thing would be if your Python script terminated by, printing out like a JSON string to standard out, which then Node can parse pretty easily. Let's see here. Graysall says, interesting. I've only heard of FFIs to C and between hosted links. No, man. There's people are crazy. Developers are crazy. There are languages that have bindings to other languages all over the place. Julie says, but is there an interpreter for Java or Python? Aren't those compiled? Python's not compiled. And yes. From if I remember correctly, there is, for example, there is Java Bridge. Yeah, this is a long time ago though. I wonder if this is even still working. But this was something that used the Java Bridge in order to be able to call Java functions in a remote Java application. It was bonkers, man. So Judy says, but is there an interpreter for Java? Like I just showed, Java Bridge. So of course you would run Java running somewhere, and then you would use Java Bridge in order to kind of communicate to it. Yeah, Judy says, now what I saw somewhere was running stuff from C# and JS that looked nuts. Yeah, man, and there's ways to migrate languages over. None of them are ideal, right? And that kind of defeats the purpose now when you think about microservices architecture, right? And that's really the path that you want to go towards, because the moment you have, two applications running in the same environment, you now have kind of a potential for disaster, right? If that system goes down, now you have two of your systems that have gone down. So think about microservices architecture where, that Python app should be running on its own little device somewhere. And then your Node app is speaking to it through, well-enforced and secure APIs or endpoints. Kadub Step says, you should learn Python. Definitely a language all devs should know. I wrote Python once. The reason why I wrote it was because at one of my previous jobs, we had a complete database failure of our internal development issue tracking system. So when I mean by internal failure, I mean somebody accidentally deleted the database with no backups. And so that meant all development went to a standstill, and we had to do some sort of recovery efforts. Luckily, for the previous 3 years, someone did turn on logging on that server. So we had logs, and even better so, they turned on debugging. So not only did we have logs, but we had really extensive logs. Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And so I had to build a parser that would parse a log file of terabytes of data and then replay that back into the application, and Python was a perfect tool for that. Python is exactly what you would use for a situation like that. Let's see here. Got a little bit more questions here. Junica's Python is interpreted. Thought it was compiled. Haven't used Python. Yeah, again, take time to learn these other languages. You don't have to learn them extensively. What I say is this, is know the pros and cons of these languages. Play enough so that you can at least converse with other people on these languages. Graysall, I am a software engineer, but I'm also a manager, right? I'm the CTO for an enterprise software company. And I have to look at holistically. I obviously have personal preferences and bias. But whenever, our organization comes up with a problem, I have to look at all the tools that are available to me and go, what's going to be right for this problem? And it's not just about the tools. It's also, who am I going to get to support whatever we build, right? Do we have enough engineers for that? If there's a knowledge gap, how quickly can our engineering teams learn that? How quickly could I hire for that? Like, again, it's going to be a lot easier for me to hire somebody for PHP or Python than somebody with like Golang experience, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean Golang is off the table. It just means, is the value of Go for the project in question so valuable that you have no other choice? And so, having at least some understanding of these other languages, at least to identify, what tools should you use, that would be appropriate, because you could screw in a Phillips with a flathead, but that's not exactly the right tool. So let's see here. Judica says, hey, Kadubstep, good question. Don't know why. Gets to get at the .NET framework and maybe do something from some library you have in C#. Sure, or you can find preferably the library in the native language that you're using, or build a appropriate microservices kind of architecture for communicating between there. So Cicero, hey, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you. The question was, do you see .NET Core becoming popular in hippie tech cities, for example, in SoCal, etc., despite their hatred against Microsoft? Again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, Microsoft has changed my mind. You can see I'm running Windows 10, but I've ran the gambit, man. I used to run FreeBSD. I was a FreeBSD contributor for a while, and so and I'm definitely a big Linux user. And my previous workstations were Mac. But now I went back over to Windows, and now with the Linux subsystem, which surprisingly I enjoy, but I don't actually use. But then all of the software support for Windows got better. All the open source software for Windows got better. I don't think there is that much hatred towards Microsoft anymore. If you are hating towards Microsoft, take a look. I mean, I think Apple has more of an issue in regards to lack of innovation and stalwarting some various projects. I think, Mac OS stemmed from a wonderful idea, and now it's becoming this bastardized, expensive commercial sludge that's making it harder and harder for developers and power users to get at their system. It's almost like they are becoming what Microsoft originally was, and Microsoft is now opening up with all of their open source efforts. But that's a great question. I would say, again, .NET became open source. Microsoft led the way there. How cool is that? I say, let them do it. Use the right tool for the job. And if you're letting hatred for a company get in the way of you choosing the right tool for the job, you need to reevaluate. Yeah, Kadubstep. Yeah, something you do when your coffee doesn't work in the morning is delete a database in production. Your DevOps team should not have access to your production database. It should all be kind of have multiple layers of redundancy and also no direct fat fingering input. But, organizations have to learn, right? Kadubstep says, we use a lot of Python at my job. Also a lot of Python. I think that's twice. We use it a lot for parsing JSON and using it as a lot of a middleman between end users and our backend systems. Parsing was the big pro for Python. And so when I did that project where I built, and I had to build this, again, all the development at that shop was stopped, standstill. And everyone was looking at me, and so I had to build that app in less than a day to parse terabytes of log data and replay it. And because Python was quick to pick up and its pro was parsing, and there just happened to be a really good Python SDK for that endpoint issue tracking system, it was very easy. Have I written Python since then? Nope. But I know what the pro and con is, and so if I need to, or any of my development teams need to approach a problem where I see Python is the better tool, I'm going to suggest Python. Razurka, howdy. Howdy. Thank you so much for joining the stream. I appreciate it. We're definitely going over my stream limit, but we've got quite a few people in the stream, and we're having a good discussion. So we're talking about tools, improving your tool set, making yourself a better developer. I've been playing around with Studio Code and definitely been learning some secrets here. Some of my favorites is definitely looking and memorizing all the hotkeys. That has helped a lot. I'm a big keyboard junkie. I use Vim bindings quite a lot. We've been installing and taking a look at some extensions. ESLint is a fantastic tool, and I think that is in for any JavaScript developer with Studio Code. We were trying out debugging for Chrome, so if you wanted to debug your JavaScript that runs in a browser, I was using it for Vue because I am a big Vue.js supporter and cheerleader, and so we debugged a little bit with that. It was a little flaky, but we got it running. File utils, really, really cool. I think the best thing is that, I'm just going to do it again. You know, if you have this huge node modules and stuff like that, and you're just like, oh my God, file, collapse folders in Explorer, and boom, that is awesome. I like that a lot. Control P, you know, quickly being able to find files that you want to open. Control Shift P for command palette. I think those things have been really, really helpful in speeding up my time there. Control Shift G. Normally there's Control B for hiding the sidebar, or the sidebar. But if I have a file open, and because I have Vim bindings on, if I hit Control B, that might have a different command. So I have Control Shift B bound to close my sidebar. That's pretty good. There's also minimalistic view, F11, in case you are just staying inside Studio Code. I find that super useful. You can see my tools at the bottom. Doesn't look like I have a hotkey for that, but if I do Control tilde, there's my do mode. There's my do mode. I'm running git shell, which has definitely been handier for Windows. And it works really good in Windows too. You know, I have multiple drives, so if I need to go to my D drive, I can just go /D. I'm using Unix pathing. That's really useful. You know, tilde to go back to my home directory. Everything's there. I find that really useful. Other extensions, NPM support. This was handy, you know, if I need to hit Control P and NPM. Control Shift P and NPM. I have access to like terminate a script, run a script. Let's run serve, see if that's running properly, and it is. And then let's just hit Control Shift P, NPM, and terminate script. And it says, killing is only supported when the setting run in terminal is false. Okay, so normally it's running in terminal. So one thing I learned, which was awesome during the stream, was that you can have independent settings for each of your workspaces. So if you have different projects, one's JavaScript, one's for work, one's an open source project, and you want to have different settings for each one, maybe different colors so that you visually know what workspace you're in. That's also pretty cool. You can have workspace settings, and let's see what happens here. There is a .vs code directory that gets created. There's tasks that came in here, settings, which can override your user settings, and then of course debug launch settings, which is pretty cool. Hey guys, a lot of people in the stream, thank you so much for joining. We're just kind of coding and coasting around, talking about different tools, how to make your development cycle faster. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, we're talking about tools, we're talking about platforms, we're talking about languages. It's kind of a really geeky subject. So if you have any thoughts, comments, any tools that you really like that you think made your job faster, speak up. So, I have NPM support. That's been really useful. NPM IntelliSense, again, that kind of worked. We were having a little bit of weirdness with it. And a lot of these plugins are community plugins, as somebody mentioned before. So they're, going to have a mixed bag. Junica says, I like Alt-Shift-F. And then there's a smiley face. Alt-Shift-F. It's not doing anything. It's not doing anything. I just tried it. Junicus, what is that supposed to do normally? Graysell says, hey, not a tool, but this is the best programming related talk I've heard. InfoQ presentation, simple, made easy. Let's load that up really quick just to kind of get a taste of what you're talking about here. Simple, made easy. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. Site infoq.com. Simple, made easy. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to go too much over this, but the summary is emphasizing simplicity's virtues over easiness, showing that while many choose easiness, they may end up with complexity, and the better path is to choose easiness along the simplicity path. Oh, this is a Clojure talk. You tricked me. Of course this is going to be for Clojure. I will say yes. Engineers have a tendency to overcomplicate things, thinking that it's simple. That is something I think that we're all kind of guilty of. Yeah, I'm kidding. I know it's just not a Clojure talk, but I'm going to bookmark this and come back to it. I would love to take a look at it deeper. It's an hour long, but it looks like you can download it. Is it all audio, or is there a PowerPoint as well? Do I have to look through slides? Oh, Alt-Shift-F is format current document. Oh, and that's why it didn't give any visual feedback, huh? Alt-Shift-F. And let me just... Uh-oh. What happened to my Vim bindings? Where's my Vim bindings? Oh, I had caps lock turned on. Alt-Shift-F. You are right. That is automatic format document. Control-Shift-P, format document. Shift-Alt-F. You are right. But you do need to have the formatter for the document type. And so if you're working with, say, Vue or whatever, you should have VTour in order to make sure you have the formatting in there. So definitely. Left side is video, right side is PowerPoint. Yeah, I wish... maybe I can hopefully look through it. I will add this. Yeah, simple is the opposite of complex, which means being intertwined. Simple does not equal easy. I agree to that. I agree. There are some things, though. The problem with development is that engineers have a tendency to overplan for things. So when they're building their next big Twitter clone, they're going, okay, how do I need to have redundancy? Where do I have to have security and scalability over there and stuff like that? And you get overwhelmed with this sense of responsibility to get all this complexity up front, just so that you can think that you don't have to tackle that later on. But then you're no longer building the app; you're building all these redundancy levels, and the concept of the app is getting lost in that mess, in that quagmire. So maybe the best thing to do is just build the app first. Don't focus so much on all the bells and whistles that come along with it, especially if you're trying to build a new open source project or you're part of a startup. Just get it done. Just get the idea done, because all the other stuff will come easy after that. What you're really trying to validate is the concept of your app, And so that's my takeaway. That's what I think. That's what I think. When you're tackling a project, don't worry so much about all of the craziness. And, you might choose a language that is easier for you, but may not be the right tool for the job, only because it will allow you to get the idea out of your head faster, right? So, Ruby has had issues before with scalability. Don't freak out. If there's any Ruby lovers, don't freak out. But, and there has been obviously performance and scalability issues before in the past, but that doesn't stop you from using Ruby if you know it well enough to just get the idea and the concept out there. Things can be refactored, things can be rewritten, but I would say, focus on getting the idea out there. That was me ranting. Obviously you need to have the formatter for the type of file if you're formatting it. The PHP debug, I haven't tried it yet. I don't have a running PHP environment to play around with. PHP extension pack, which just includes the debugger IntelliSense. I think the PHP IntelliSense thing was just not working. It's really, really frustrating. It just did not seem to work. React Native Tools, didn't really try this too much. Didn't try it too much in regards to that. But it looks like it has, code hinting, probably something on top of React, or in addition to all the React IntelliSense stuff. Slime, which is the theme that you see here. I'm going to check out this IBM Plex Mono. It looks a little more rounder. And I'm going to go ahead and grab it. Let's see. Download, releases. Let's go ahead and grab it. Let's grab our TrueType. We're on Windows. And see if this looks better in our editor. Ooh. We'll go ahead and extract this. Extract it to my desktop. Fonts. Operation not supported. What? What do you want from me? Maybe because the folder doesn't exist. It's getting late. We'll just put it there. Cool. And let's install those fonts. You know, fonts, if you're staring at a code IDE for a long time, fonts make a big difference. So let's hit Control P, settings. Let's look at our font here, copy the settings, and can we just change it? That's a good question. Hack the font. Yes. I basically Menlo with a nicer 0. Is that what I'm going to be installing here? Let's see here. What is the IBM Plex Mono? I wonder if I just do. Okay, come on now. Because the file is dirty. There, now it's not dirty anymore. Don't bother me. Save and retry. IBM Plex. Ooh, that didn't work. Oh, there's a font named Hack. I'll have to take a look at that in a moment. But IBM Plex Mono is definitely not... Oh, maybe I have to choose normal. No. You know what? I'm not that invested in it. I don't care that much. Consola is to me like a perfect font. But Graysal, you say there's a font named Hack. I have a feeling I may not. Oh! A typeface designed for source code. Really? Really? What does that mean? Designed for the screen, open source. What? It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar to Menlo, which I think is the font that Ubuntu uses in most of their in their distribution. And yeah, it looks extremely similar. That's a very fancy website for a font that doesn't look, dramatically different. Okay, let's see here. And then TSLint for TypeScript, which again, I don't have a lot of experience with TypeScript, but I installed it anyways for you guys. And then Vue. And then this is my big baby right here, Vim bindings. You can have all your control bindings. I love it. I love it. There's a lot of good stuff here. Oh, and it looks like it even emulates certain Vim plugins, which are really good, like Vim Surround, which is cool. However, I will say this. I will say the biggest takeaway that I liked from tonight's session was Emmet. Emmet was just so cool. Just so cool. And then for people who are like, what the hell is Emmet? I could go into HTML and I can say div dot list and then have a child of UL and then, let me have 5 li5 and then hit enter and it just builds it all out. How cool is that? That's a huge time saver. That is a huge time saver, and I can't tell you how often I'm shocked. I feel like I'm that old guy in a developer circle if I didn't know about Emmet. Okay, everybody, it is 10:30. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining my stream. I feel like this was really, really successful. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your ideas. If you have an idea for an upcoming stream, please let me know. I would love to dive into it. If it's something new, new piece of technology, or if you want to see something be developed, let's do it. Let's talk about it. There is a stream tomorrow, and it's Learning Tuesdays. So if you are a newcomer to development, or if you just have some questions, come on in, ask a question, and we'll figure out the solution together. I promise. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you.